Welcome to another episode of Lovelations, Navigating Love. Again, I am BJ O'Neill, and I'm here sitting at my right is
Philip Pullum.
Yes, and so we're on this first season talking about love is patient, and today we're going to be talking about what to do while you wait. Because during the last segment, you said something that was insightful, that patience isn't just waiting, but actually what you do while you wait. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of share with the audience what you meant and kind of elaborate on that.
Well, absolutely, and so what basically reiterate what you just said. Excuse me. Yeah, it's not waiting, but what you do while you wait. So going back to in the previous episode, I talked about a farmer planting a seed.
Right.
And so when a farmer plants the seed, he doesn't just leave the seed alone. He's watering that seed. He's tilling the ground. He's pulling up weeds. There is some action going into while he's waiting for that seed to do what it's doing in the soil.
Right.
There is some work going on in the environment around that seed to make sure that seed is in a healthy environment to grow. So if I look at that in the context of my relationship, while I'm waiting, for that seed that I planted in my mate, in my spouse to grow, I still have to love them. I still have to, at the same time, partner with them to hear what they have to say, to try to get understanding in those areas. There has to be work. It can't be I'm going to do this, I'm going to go ahead and say my piece, and I'm not doing anything until you follow through on what I gave you.
Yeah, that's key, because obviously seed needs certain nutrients to grow, and a lot of times we're wanting to see a certain growth, maturity, understanding get established in our relationships, but we communicate it and we put it on them instead of partner with them in that particular process. The farmer doesn't go out there and beat up the ground because the seed hasn't grown yet. The farmer doesn't go down and dig it up and just because it hasn't grown, it actually takes care of that. And so, for instance, if I'm looking for my wife to listen more, whatever that is, I don't say, oh, force her to listen, but I model it. I value what she's saying and so forth, and lead by example. I continue to talk to her. I don't just shut off. Then how does she has the opportunity to listen? And when I communicate, and I'm learning how to communicate in the method that's receivable. So I'm taking ownership of that same thing.
Absolutely. There's a verse in the Bible that says, dwell with your wife with knowledge and understanding.
Right.
And so just off that little example that you gave, with the farm, back to the farmer example that I gave you, it was just the farmer studying his environment. And so he's going to see, he's not just going to plant a seed anywhere. He's going to plant that seed in an area that's conducive to reap a harvest.
Right.
He's going to study. He's going to seek out where to plant it, and he's going to do his part to make sure that environment is set so that seed can actually grow. So in context of you that in your relationship and you wanting your wife to listen more, one of the things you could do is say, hey, ask yourself questions.
Right.
Okay, when might be the best time to talk to her?
Right.
Maybe it's not in the bed. Maybe it's not in the morning if she's not a morning person.
Right.
Maybe it's not while she's got some kids on her hip, right?
Right.
And so it is, let me observe, let me seek out when's the best time. And sometimes it's just ask.
Right.
It's like, hey, when's a good time to have a conversation? I need your undivided attention because I want you to hear me on something because I believe I have something to share. When would be a good time to speak with you? And sometimes it's something as simple as that.
Right.
And it's all about, sometimes it's just the method. It's the methodology, if you will.
And so I believe, and of course we're talking about, waiting to formulate great communication, which is very important. It's actually bad communication or no communication is actually one of the top killers of relationships. But this could be used in any situation where you're annoyed in your relationship, whether it's, like I say, communication, whether it's something, let's take it outside of communication. When I talked about it in the book, I had high road rage, right? We're in Houston, so I'm telling you, one is back-to-back traffic, or, people cutting, wait to the very last moment to get in the exit ramp and things of that nature. And I can tell you, like, I used to be, like, livid. Red, they can't even hear what I'm saying, you lay on your horn. And, I had some few resolves. One, to realize I can't control them, but I can control myself. and I'm probably exhausting too much energy in being upset than what's necessary.
Right.
And there's things that I can do to enjoy my travel home or wherever I'm trying to go if I take authority over that.
Right.
And I think another thing you can do while you wait is to realize there are other things you can do to enjoy your spouse while that thing is improving.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, you're not communicating. It doesn't mean you don't cut off, speaking her love language, or you guys are waiting for the finances to get where they need to be. It doesn't mean you don't spend quality time together because there's a stress and strain on the finances. There are other things to do while you wait, while some area of your marriage or your relationship is improving.
Absolutely, and this kind of ties into that. A lot of times, I hear this a lot. You are wearing on my patience.
Right.
You are on my last nerve.
Right.
But one thing I would definitely want to clear up for you is patience is not avoidance.
Right.
It is not. I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to wait in silence. Patience is actively engaged in the process.
Right.
Of going after what it is you hope for.
Right.
And so if you're not engaged, you can't expect there to be a harvest. A farmer who plants the seed, who doesn't go out and till the soil and water it and pull the weeds up, cannot expect that seed to grow. It's going to get choked up by something.
Right.
And so if you're not leaned into that process and active participant in that, while you're waiting, don't expect that thing is going to work out. Patience is not avoidance, but it's leaned in, is an expecting hope, believing that what you were believing for is going to come to pass.
And I think what's key, it all works together because, what's key in that, you say you've heard those sayings where you can't watch a pot of water boil, or, if you stare and just really try to wait and see when the first sprout was going to come out of the ground, it would seem like an eternity. But that process is as long as it actually takes. But when you sit there and watch and do absolutely nothing else, it feels like an eternity.
Right.
But when you're busy doing other things and being productive, it actually, even though it still takes that exact same time, it doesn't feel like it. For instance, in the Bible, who was it that had to marry the sister first? Jacob. Yeah. He loved Rachel, but he had to marry Rachel's sister first. But before even then, he had to work for 7 years. And what was profound, because we do this all the time, young love and so forth. Oh, I love you so much. I just can't wait. I can't wait. And it seems like I get it because we're yearning for that person. But what was interesting in the Bible's biblical story is they said he had to wait 7 years, but because he loved her so much, it felt like only a few days. So it's actually the love actually made that 7 years. I got that. Right. And of course he was working her father's, or was it her uncle? Her uncle. So he's busy working, preparing to be able to take her by the hand, and he even having to wait another 7 years and so forth. But because he was committed and he was involved and so forth, it reduces what seems like an eternity. And a lot of times we tap out because we're not busy actually working and investing in the relationship. We're sitting there watching the pot till it starts boiling.
Right. I think you gave an example in the book, if I'm not mistaken. You don't mind sharing about the airport.
Well, I don't think I shared it in the book. I think we did that in conversation.
Oh, okay.
But I read somewhere that I won't call out the airport, but what happened was people were complaining that it took too long to get their baggage after they got off the plane. And so,
because the baggage was like right next to where you got off the plane.
Exactly. So you get off the plane, you go to the baggage, and you're sitting there, and everybody's like, "Where's my baggage? Where's my baggage?" Well, instead of making their process for getting the bags to the little circular thing more efficient, they took them all the way to the other side of the airport. So the people would have to get off the plane and walk all the way over to where, but by the time they got there, the bags were ready. Now, keep in mind, everyone stopped complaining, but they were still in the airport for the exact same time. But because they were walking, they felt like they was moving towards their destination. So it's like I said, nothing changes as far as the length of time it's going to take. But because you're moving forward,
right.
It's not annoying anymore.
Right.
You actually are focusing on what you're expecting to get out of it. So yeah, that was that story.
Excellent. Yeah. So it's not about waiting; it's about how you wait. And so there's got to be some expectation. There's got to be we call some sweat equity in that process when you're waiting.
Exactly. Well, again, hopefully you guys are enjoying these. We're gonna continue with this series of love and patience and so forth. Make sure you catch our next season. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you take the time to like and share it. Again, we're trying to make sure that everybody understands that. If we shift our perspectives, healthy relationships are for us, but we have to grow and we have to have the resolve and commitment to do what's necessary to not just join in marriage or in a relationship, but do those things that allows us to sustain healthy relationships. So again, this is Lovelations, navigating love, and we'll see you next time.